And since you did that, got a couple things to lead off with there because that wasn't really where I was thinking we should do a screenshot of, but that's okay. It was still nice. I like the wrist shield and the dark saber back in their maybe the rightful hands, but we'll say
Sorry, guys.
I don't know.
No, what a way to what a way to open the show here, guys. Welcome to Carbonite Bounty BS with Still City there with the big but a super thumbnail, man. That was a good one. I think I appreciate that as well. It was like the perfect shot. So.
See, I really thought this was an easy one. This is an easy week. I was like, I need to get her. We need to get the dark saber and her together in the shot. So whatever, everybody. I don't put a lot of time into that. I put a little bit of time into it.
Not a lot at all. The money shot. But yeah, guys. Welcome to this week's episode. How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. Another big week. Another I guess we'll call it 2 for 2 episode. So looks like we got the train, so to speak, rolling for both shows. Before we even get into that, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com. People, make sure that you go into your favorite website. And your favorite, we have our social media platforms on there that you can hit up: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok. All right. If you are listening to us on your phone or just podcasts and everything, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. So we thank you for that. If you're watching us on YouTube, of course, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you are joining us at the Carbonite Bounty BS Star Wars group, where we get all your favorite memes and all your favorite, conversation regarding anything Star Wars. All right. Leave us some feedback too. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting all your feedback and, you telling us what you think.
No, it's good. Short, sweet, straight to the point, man. Short, sweet, straight to the point. But yeah, guys, as we lean into this, I mean, I kind of gave my initial reaction, which is, another week we're 2 for 2. So, I mean, there are so many things to talk about. I mean, mine obviously will be Mandalorian heavy because that's my bias, but I will say that Bad Batch was a great episode as well. But yeah, guys, we'll let leave us for Ken. We'll let Ken start it off because he was very excited about it.
I was totally geeked. Both these episodes were great. So the opening 5 minutes of Mandalorian pulled together Phantom Menace and A New Hope into this story like perfectly. So we had Bonta Eve, and we had R5D4. Filoni just does a great job of pulling all these rather staggered storylines into one now. Like now we're coming together. Really like this episode because now we're starting to see a little more of Din's challenge. Like why is he trying to get back? Why is he trying to get back to the Creed? And it occurred to me he's the only true Mandalorian left because everybody else is sort of whatever. It's all dead. Our planet's been destroyed. Everyone's dispersed around the galaxy, kind of running amok. He's the only one that's actually trying to follow the Creed. I mean, he's trying to do it by the letter. Even the armorer in episode 1 was like, yeah, okay, whatever. You go and do this. We'll take you back, but it's no big thing. He's the only one that's trying to follow this to the book.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be getting into a little bit of trouble here and there. I have a couple questions that I don't know if I want to bring them up now in the just the first the first thoughts or maybe later, but I have some questions about Bo-Katan. What the heck's up with this girl? Again, we find her sitting on the throne doing nothing, chilling, and all of a sudden she becomes a character and into the story, and what did they do? Did they try and did we need is she trying to challenge Din? Is she trying to outbest him? Because not only did she have the clairvoyant ability to sense one of these almites in the ceiling, Din just walked into the trap. I mean, he's like, and so did Grogu. Missed the mark completely. He's looking at the helmet, and all of a sudden, he's attacked by a nightmarish spider creature. No sixth sense, no Mandalorian like know your way around the galaxy. Whereas Bo-Katan is like with it. Like she saw that creature in the ceiling and shot it out. So maybe we can talk about that later. Great elements in this episode that I liked, and I liked the ending too, because it was a real cliffhanger. It wasn't like last week where it was like super soft on the cliffhanger aspect. This one was real strong. This episode flowed real good. I like to see R5D4 again connecting my Star Wars universe with this Star Wars universe, and nice to see Pele back. She's always fun for a couple minutes in the scene, and she's a big Grogu supporter. So for all you Baby Yoda fans out there, know that I think there's some good things coming for Yoda, Baby Yoda. And I do want to add something as a PSA. My wife does like his ears. They're very characteristic. So when he's flying and he's having a good time, they're flapping in the wind. When he's concerned, they go down. When he's alert, they go up. He's a very inquisitive and inspired character in this episode too. I think we're seeing a little more of him sort of develop. Not too much on the communication side. I don't know what the hell he's saying, but he's becoming more of a character in the story. And I do have to keep reminding myself that Din and him are bonded at the soul. So he's going to start to become more viable moving forward. We saw him at the end crush one of these alamites. I'm assuming he killed it because he didn't want to leave it for Din to have to deal with, right? Din and Bo-Katan. So I'm assuming he's using the Force, but he's sort of using it with liberty, because Force users shouldn't be just destroying things for the sake of destroying things, but he did. But great episode, and there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about.
What about you, Still City?
Yeah, man. I mean, Mandalorian this week was really awesome. I anytime we get to see Grogu actually do something that proves that he has like a will and can do stuff, I always like that. I'm glad that Grogu's not a Mary Sue and was like terrified of all the stuff that was going on and didn't really want to proceed. I enjoy the characterization of Bo-Katan a lot. I really like that line she has when she said, "What, you thought your dad was the only Mandalorian?" I thought that was awesome, and she was being pretty cool when that was going on. Why did Din sink like a rock? Why was he so unbuoyant?
The stairs broke away. He thought there was that fourth step, and there wasn't, and he dropped like a rock because of the Beskar armor.
I mean, Bo-Katan is like, also wearing exactly the same stuff and shooting herself downward with a rocket, and still like couldn't catch up until the bottom. So I thought, that was weird. I had a lot of questions about the physics there, but hey, it's Star Wars. Ken, do you have any theories of Star Wars gravity, perhaps, that you'd like to share with us that would unify your theory of time?
It doesn't exist here. All we're talking about is shock aspect, because we didn't expect it. Even the third watch, I didn't expect it. So
there are some video games where, like, I think Castlevania on NES is one of them, where like if you jump, you float down real gradually, but if you walk off a ledge, you just go like real fast. So that definitely made me think of that as well. But this was a great episode. We got to see a lightsaber fight, a lightsaber being wielded against Ken. You had it right. A nightmare spider monster from hell just showed up out of nowhere and being a sci-fi terror and messing up with everyone. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that the fact that little whatever like parasite gave itself an android body with like 2 arms and 2 legs and stuff like that. Why would it do that? Why would it build like its own little body to go inside of the bigger body? It was, I don't know, it was just a really neat little one-off. I thought that was really cool. Boon to Eve, my relationship with Phantom Menace isn't so great, so I'm cool with not talking about people getting all chundered on Boon to Eve on Tatooine. I like when the action moves away from there. But this was a good episode, and it kept my interest. A lot of really neat action sequences. The live action premiere and debut of Mandalore. How about that?
Yeah, buddy.
Got to see it, the whole thing, from soup to nuts, from back to front, from top to bottom, all the way down to the old cleansing waters in the mind. So I really enjoyed this episode a lot.
Yeah, this episode was great. It was good. It felt like a movie. It felt like a Raiders of the Lost Ark Tomb Raider type thing. Felt type of vibe that we had our heroes going on an adventure through the tombs and stuff. We had like a rescue from Grogu. That was decent. Going back to get Bo-Katan and everything, and then trusting him to do that. I thought that was just pretty great. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other rooms or whatever on where Bo-Katan is, but for her to just perch on that throne, the whole time, I'm like, okay, yeah,
working from home, baby.
Yeah, working from home. Okay, all right. Yeah, she needs to move around a little bit and everything. Finally, Grogu got her off her butt, to go to go help out Din and everything. So I like her reactions too. Grogu, and I'm glad we had like a sort of a little relationship bonding that the two Grogu and her had. So I'm always good for like other characters that we know and care about and everything interacting with each other in elements that we don't normally see them do. Grogu and Bo-Katan. So I thought that was pretty decent. The episode looked great. It was shot great. The Mandalorian, he was in his bag and stuff, and you sort of like question what his dedication to the creed and redemption and everything. That's I think with him specifically, he has to have some sort of purpose. In order to keep moving and everything, he wants to have some sort of purpose, and I guess it's sort of like dovetails a little bit into like the Bad Batch and everything. A character having a sense of purpose when other characters don't really carry that same weight. We see with Crosshair. We'll get into like Bad Batch and everything too, but we see with Crosshair and everything, his slow change and everything when he's slowly realizing that the stuff that he cares about is not the same. As his dedication to orders and everything is not the same as what the Empire, the Imperial, lieutenant and all that stuff. They don't really care about him. So this sort of like gives like a little parallel between like the two episodes. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, guys. I mean, like you said, I mean, you guys all made valid points, and why not just delve right into it, right? As far as our thoughts on the episode. I guess I'll start it out with the only, and I guess I won't say negative, but I mean, a couple of you hit it on the head, so I'd rather just start there. Um, the Grogu thing, I was really interested in I guess, say, character maturation of him very quickly. I know we did the parallel between him and Omega and how uh, almost very infinish his character was as far as his mannerisms. I thought that with this episode, he really took a big leap forward. Um, Not really sure how I feel about the whole Professor X kind of chair thing and him having to stay mobile. But I mean, I do like the fact that he is now, it seems like I don't want to say he's at a teenage, but I just like them to kick forward with this development. He's actually been mobile. He's given a task. He's able to do things. He's not maybe in finish as far as how he acts in his mannerism. So I do like that he's starting to get a little character development. We saw him flip around and move kind of like a little agile. So I did like how they're starting to push him a little forward. I just hope they keep that same kind of character development with him, and he doesn't really go back to being like this little baby character, right? That everybody finds him, as I said, this baby Grogu or really baby Yoda, right? So I really like the short character development we got out of that off the bat. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah,
as long as he's part of the story, he's not just sitting there sort of,
Right.
observing, as long as he's interacting. So we saw him do that. He tried to save Din. He almost did. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure why he couldn't. Could he not control that lock? Could he not like manipulate that lock correctly, or what? He did. It clanked, and that's when the nightmare spider droid centipede.
Sci-fi nightmare spider.
Well, I think that was really good because, like Hitch was saying, Amiri Sue and stuff, Grogu isn't all powerful, isn't all, he can, he enters into a scene and, he uses his force abilities and everything is just okay. So they showed like, the flaw and stuff. So he couldn't control it. So that was a great character development for him.
Yeah, it showed where he needed a little bit of training.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke worked with him, and Luke, even primitively, was able to activate switches, and work doors and do simple, let's say, simple tricks. But Grogu still doesn't have that. But he can attack and kill, which is interesting too. So that shows that maybe there's a little bit of dark side in there, a little bit, that's a little bit maybe stronger. It's a little easier. It's a little easier to be bad than it is to be good.
Well, was it in self-defense though? I mean, in Grogu's defense, I mean, he was about to be attacked. Are you referring to that character?
Yeah. And he could have gotten away. He has his little floaty, his little sphere thing. He could have gotten away and maneuvered around the thing. No, he chose to attack. And
so we give no points to these guys for being the aggressors. None. 0. They get no points.
0.
All the points are to the baby.
Power level 0. Power level 0.
I don't know.
Automatically goes to the dark side,
Yeah, because these guys, these enormous cavemen, who are, that's what they are for the most part.
They got kryptonite eyes too.
Yeah, they look messed up. They're coming after Grogu. And, I like this episode because it felt like a Western. And Mandalorian feels like a Western. Like this, you could almost feel like Rooster Cogburn getting shot and be like, go get help. Or like a Lassie episode where Timmy's chopped down by the well or something like that.
Right.
And it just had those qualities that made you feel like was like an epic Western where some kid had to go get, like, you could feel that plot. Like that feels like a plot to a movie you've seen, even though I'm making it up. Right. And those are the best Mandalorian episodes where, there's a revelation about something in the larger Star Wars universe, right? So Mandalore, they could rebuild this planet. It's not poison. It's just infested with morons and nightmare spiders.
As far as we know, there's millions of them everywhere, and they're hiding under Mandalorian helmets. And
so
they're
maybe Mandalore really is cursed, but it's cursed with it's not cursed by the Empire. It's not cursed by nuclear winter. Nope. It's cursed with hideous sci-fi nightmare spiders from top to bottom.
I mean, what a horrible thing this was. This was like my worst fear, like that this would be attacking Pittsburgh. And what are you going to do? There's hundreds and thousands of them. What are you going to do? You can't do anything. And they grab everybody and cage them underneath their belly, and then someone what was he trying to do? Embalm him?
I don't know. That's another really good question. What the heck was he doing to him? Was he like doing a Dracula thing, or
and why? Why would a droid? Why would a machine want plasma? Explain that, but we're never going to get it because Bo-Katan came in and killed everybody because she woke up and got off the throne.
It's her fault. That's who we should hate. That's whose fault it is. It's Bo-Katan's fault for showing up and killing that sci-fi nightmare spider twice.
And I'll give you a hint. You guys should watch this show in closed caption, because the only way I knew that she actually killed the droid was because it said powering down. Anytime a droid is destroyed, the closed caption says powering down, and that's it. It did it for IG-11, and it did it for the Nightmare Spider droid. That's the only way I knew she won. Otherwise, it just keep getting back up.
Well, that's interesting to hear. I mean, I was hoping he was dead and we didn't get a round 3, but no,
Mm-mm. Out. He's out.
Yeah. I'm glad we got like a sort of like Bo-Katan centric type, episode.
yeah,
That was a very interesting pivot for the Mandalorian, per se. And then, like I said, to harp back on the relationship between her and Grogu, her revealing some things and asking, some questions. I like the question what she was asked about. So, how well can you do the Force or whatever? Something to that effect that he was saying. I mean, I used to be friends with Jedi's or whatever,
Very
and
very good friends and worked well with them, she said.
yep. So she's going back into stuff that we already know, when we watched like Rebels and Clone Wars and everything. So I just love I'm a homer for Mandalore period and everything. So anything that has to do with them is all good. But just hearing her just talk about stuff that I was just hoping that she would just say Satine, just mention, her sister and everything. And, I was like, okay, check off Satine, maybe we get it. But nah. But yeah, I mean,
it still could happen.
it's early. Yeah, it's still early.
Father, so
Yep.
it's there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of, you guys alluded to, pays off kind of the like, you know, not really laziness, but I guess kind of like petulant nature she had on that planet, which we now find out was basically like an imperial planet, right? She was kind of not really exiled, but yeah, I mean, it was like she's just kind of like the spoiled, not really spoiled, but petulant, daughter of a prominent leader, right? And she alludes to it. The initial thing was like she thought Din had showed up again, and she was going to tell him, "Hey, look, just leave me alone." It was like, I mean, it's almost like a forced depression, right? The thought of people bringing back their homeworld, because obviously she's seen it post, genocide and what happened. So for her to walk out to there and say, like, "Look, I'm telling him one last time, just like leave me alone. Like, there's no reason."
I thought she was going to kill him. That
Right?
seemed
Yeah.
like she was definitely going to kill him and take the dark saber. To me.
Yeah, but that's what I thought too. What is she going to go out and blast him? But then I thought, well, no, she's in some sort of headspace herself.
Right. Yeah. It
Right?
almost to me felt like a depression, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah,
And they
because
don't have what's it, ComPsych. They don't have ComPsych in the Star Wars universe. They don't have people you can like video chat with to help you through these things. You just have to,
like my life advisors from a certain company that we're all also fans of.
yeah. You gotta work through stuff yourself. You gotta look at the stories of your upbringing to find guidance. You got to look at your peers. You got to look around you. And who did she have?
right.
A security droid.
Yeah. And I think that was like her quick redemption when she dealt with Grogu and even Din, right? And she's explaining the planet to him. It was almost like that weight off of her shoulders that she's able to speak with an actual Mandalorian. It's, not really, because it seems like the ones around her are almost like kind of like grunts, right? They're kind of like soldiers. So for Din to be in, from what we understand in the story, the only other pure Mandalorian, she's obviously royal, and he's obviously one of, they would call a cult, but you mean really one of the last followers, true followers of that, other sect of Mandalorian creed, right? So for her to open up to him and discuss, what happened, and I like the thoughts as far as you said, those creatures, right? They were kind of almost like scum. They were the outskirts of the city, right? They pushed him out. So when she was explaining to him like kind of how the planet was ran and how they were viewed and whatnot, that was like the payoff to me, is how she was able to defeat him, how cunning she was as a warrior. And obviously, when we say this, I mean, you got to think, bro, she was friends with Jedi. She's been in major battles. It's not really like she has the Force, but she's very in tune with, with action. As far as Din, he's kind of still learning on the go. He's really a bounty hunter, right? He's not used to doing, these kind of quests, and so to speak, as Bo-Katan was. So I really thought this was like a huge push forward. Very telling that she was able to openly wield the dark saber, because we see Dan struggle with it so much as far as it rejecting him, and that he not being able to wield it. So I think there's a lot more foreshadowing that Obviously, the payoff at the end was the legendary Mandalorian beast. And
A
I'm sure,
mythosaur.
yeah, I'm sure that
Yeah.
it will end up kneeling to her or him when they raise the dark saber. I think that'll be the payoff. It's one of them's going to raise it, and it's going to like back off to show like because obviously it's
So
probably
who do
privy
you
to that.
think? Who do you think deserves it? Who do you think deserves to
It's
have?
gonna it's gonna go to her. I think. I mean, they'll, I don't know, but I mean, it doesn't reject her yet. I think Din will get it back at some point, but I think for the time being, she'll wield it. He's not in
Well, I
he's
mean
not in the
the
headspace.
mythosaur. The
Oh,
mythosaur.
I think it's going to attack both of them. It's going to come flying out the water. I think that's where they kind of cut it right there. That suspense.
Oh, I think it'll be Grogu that lifts up the dark saber and makes it go away because Grogu has shown a propensity and ability to do that with large beasts, and that would be super neat if, like, all of a sudden, like the choice, your choices are like never wield the dark saber again because that baby will live 10 times longer than the rest of your life.
Right.
So goodbye inheritance. so that's what will happen. So your options are live with that or kill it. And neither of those is a lot of fun
Neither of those are
for a
viable.
television show. Yeah, you can't really do either. So that's why it would be an interesting conundrum. So I kind of hope that happens.
That's actually a good shout.
I'm gonna
That
be.
or-
I hope I don't do it again. And then we're like when I said it should be like Boba Fett.
Yeah, that was an epic fail, dude. Man, that was like, I this mythosaur. So tell me a little bit about this creature. Okay, there's only one, right? There's only one.
Yeah, so there's only one, and the guy that founded Mandalore supposedly killed it.
Yes,
and they just saw it.
Right, we just saw it alive, and
doing fine.
And it didn't aggress. It didn't. I don't think it was responsible for Din's extreme plummet to the bottom of the life water. But I do think that the life water itself has some sort of energy, and I think that's what sucked him down. I mean, I think
like the healing waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Something like a giant Bacta tank with gravity, and it just took him and sucked him down. And I think we needed to see that because maybe that was it. That's what the armorer was looking for, to get back to the Creed, to get back to Mandalore, to be accepted back. He had to fail completely.
But did he fail?
He failed completely. He was completely subservient to this, whatever it was. He gave in, and Bo-Katan basically saved his life. So I think that's gonna. It's like the witch trials. If you drowned, you weren't a witch. If you didn't drown, you're a witch.
So he's not a witch.
I mean, we also have to keep in mind, though, that does the beast survive? Because we need a payoff, right? So the forger needs proof that he was in the mines. That beast was in the mines. Do they kill it? Do they cut a limb off? Do they remove a piece of meat?
A horn?
Does he bring a piece of the horn back? I mean, there has to be something because I don't think he's just gonna get a water bottle and fill a water bottle up with spring water and hand it to the forger, right?
Or have we seen the armorer and Bo-Katan talk? Have they been in the same room together? Do they know each other exists?
I don't think they would see eye to eye at all because the armorer really is like the last relic of the Death Watch, and she would be somebody that would be a staunch anti Bo-Katan, right? That wouldn't work at all.
So it wouldn't work if Bo-Katan brought Din back.
No, I don't think so.
Hey, he did this. He completed this mission for you. You need to accept him back.
I don't think she would see her like that.
All you need is wax paper and a crayon, and just take an etching of that thing, just like in Last Crusade, man.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. But then again,
I'm trying to think what the next episode is going to be, because basically he did it. He bathed in the life water. Now his next step is to go back and get his mantle back.
Well, it seems like it's about time for that pirate dude with the Chia Pet face to show up and cause some sort of havoc. it's been another couple weeks, so probably it'll be way fuller. It'll look like a whole beard instead of just like something nice and trim.
So you would like to see a crossover event between Bad Batch and Mandalorian?
I would be down for that, especially when you figure, that Omega's probably still alive, probably. So she's kicking around somewhere. And if they're calling all the Mandalorians, maybe she shows up.
Maybe she shows up.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, I'm pretty sure, and I was watching, I think we're out of trailer footage, right? So, that was the baby shot shooting him out of the tunnel. I mean, it's basically we're out of trailer footage. So, right, moving forward, this is all new content to us.
Yeah.
But as you alluded to, there has to be a point to where they either turn on some sort of beacon or something, like they did at that Jedi Rock, right, to kind of call Mandalorians back to Mandalore. There has to be something that's going to draw people back in to,
Rebuild.
Yeah, I don't think the planet's dead, so to speak. I think there will be a start, a new beginning, so to speak. So I think that's key. But being what two episodes in, I mean, wow, who would have thought that something this fast, this early.
They covered a lot of ground, and there's
They did.
a huge story that they can. I mean, and I'm just making stuff up. I'm just saying. I'm thinking like they could go anywhere with this. What would I like to see? I would like to see Bo-Katan package Din up, bring him back to the armor, and start the Mandalorian uprising from there, because you've got a group of Mandalorians that are pretty well trained. I mean, you've already got yeah, sure, sell Grogu to the armor. She'll make him him or her, or I don't know what, some sort of a servant of some sort, but maybe build the Mandalorian armor back from there. Because what did Bo-Katan said? She said her army is melted away. They're now mercenaries across the galaxy, scattered like stars across the galaxy. But here around the armor, we have a collection of Mandalorians, and they are building their younglings. They're rebuilding already. Isn't that where you want to start? Maybe Mandalore is dead. Maybe that planet is dead. Maybe they need to start over somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I think maybe we have a different idea of what destroyed is for Mandalore, and what dead is to Mandalore. Like to us, think about something like the like Roman ruins, right? To us, right. It's like, wow, remnant of something that was here a long time ago. But if you show them to a contemporary Roman, they'd be like, oh my God, what happened? How did this terrible stuff happen? Right? It's awful. It's terrible. All the people I know and love are dead. Like, you know what I mean? It's terrible, terrible emotions that are tied to the scourging of Mandalore. And it's something that, Bo-Katan feels. And we see that she has a different outlook on all of this than Din. Like, she thinks that all the religious stuff is sort of hokey and stupid. And, hearkening back to her viewpoint as an elite, as the princess, as somebody who, was made to do all these things and kind of knows that, when it comes down to it, political power is political power. It doesn't matter what trappings you put around it. Some of these stories are created just to preserve that. And that's how she feels about it. And it's very obvious in the way she addresses the healing waters of the mine. And she's very sarcastic about it, which really tracks for me as somebody who, knows a lot of people that grew up in that sort of magisterial religion and have kind of rejected it and now think that it's kind of hokey and dumb.
Right. Yeah, she has her doubts. The armor has, her way and everything, pun intended and everything. Maybe they might unite. Maybe this is the foreshadowing of the, get Mandalore back together. So by the time the real stuff happens, when Thrawn comes, everybody could be just ready, for the big stuff.
And what is the creed? Like, what defines someone that's living by the creed? Like I said in my initial reaction, Din seems like the only one that's really trying to live by that.
Well,
and
he
showing
lives
the
by. I
law.
mean, it's kind of like when we discussed it. It's like maybe an Old Testament versus a New Testament, right? So
Mm.
Death Watch has this idea, and when you mean creed, it's basically the two main tribes of Mandalore. The problem is we're finding out is Death Watch was like the exiles that are basically alive, kicking, and rebuilding,
And they
and
could take their helmets off. Were they the one they?
no, that's Bo-Katan's. So that's
No,
more
they
the
stay on.
royal. That's the royal kind of
Okay,
Just like how
the
DP never
elitists,
takes off that hat.
right.
Never
Because we don't
removed.
know what's under that hat. I
right?
mean, there could be a nightmare spider droid underneath that hat. Leave the hat on.
But yeah, I mean it makes it, as you said, very interesting because Bo-Katan's way of life is and we see it in history all the time, right? So is this a point to where they create a new way? They talk about this as the way. Maybe this is the point where they create the way, right? That
Mhm.
maybe her and the Forger does come to an impasse and agreement.
Right.
Because as you said, she foreshadows. It's crazy that for somebody who is against the Death Watch, she understands her practices. She says, "Oh,
Yeah.
I've said these things. I've been in the water." Well, why would you be in the water? If you lived by a different creed, if you live by some
A
royal
royal.
sect, yes. So to some point, maybe her parents, and it's one of those things, maybe they believed in it and something happened. Death Watch maybe overthrew him. We talk about, and I don't know how deep they'll get into this with the Mandalorian Jedi's, if we'll get deeper into it. But yeah, there are a lot of ties into why the Mandalorian split, why there were different factions, why there was a civil war. So it's crazy that we have this much information from like 34 minutes, and like I said, this is only episode 2. I didn't expect it to be like this deep, right? Because it was a good episode, but it was really deep as far as lure and content, and it was only like 34 minutes,
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And it had Mandalore on
right?
it. I mean, like, that's
And
a big
two other
deal.
planets. Two other planets that were part of the
Their system,
Mandalore.
yeah,
It was
their star
Empire.
system.
Yeah,
That's
Star
yeah,
City.
and that's really interesting that we see that they have their own system, right? And kind of in the galaxy that like Bo-Katan is on this planet. It's I don't know, living, and she was in there moping about, guess
Just
nobody living.
chilling
Yeah,
on that throne, like
I'm
work from
almost in
home. This is
disgust.
how
Yeah,
I roll. You know.
Here's a sensation but that's a sensation I can definitely understand. It's like a smart person nobody listens to. Like, imagine how terrible that would be to always know things in advance and tell people and warn them, like, don't do this, don't do that. And they never listen to you no matter what. They don't care. And they just do the stupid stuff you warn them not to do over and over. And she's just jaded by that because
right.
nobody wants to listen to her because of this stupid idea that is really a very powerful symbol for chauvinism for her. That if she doesn't have a magical laser sword to swing around at everybody,
She ain't
right?
nothing.
She's not fit to rule. If she doesn't have something dangling from her belt, specifically a lightsaber called the dark saber, right? Was she born with that? No, she was not. This is something she has to acquire, right? And
Mhm.
without it, she will never be acceptable as a leader. I think it's a very obvious metaphor. I don't think it's not there's not very many layers deep, right? It's just right on the surface.
And that's the difference between like the old way and the new way. So the armor is the old way. Bo-Katan is sort of leading the royal, this sort of privileged, but the new way. Like we have other options. There's other options in how we can run our lives, run our people, rule our planet, whatever. And what was more popular? What did people take to? What did the citizens like think was the right way to go? I
So
mean,
imagine if like this is the way I think about these sects. The way I think about for me in history, my signposts are like the Protestant Reformation and how you had sort of like a bulk of normal people that wanted a few things to change, but the bulk of the religious practice to stay the same. And then you had other people that wanted everything about the religious practice to be different and very strict. And if there's a rule, it's a rule. It's absolute. And those people would have clashed very much with the people that just wanted a few things to be different. Well, what the Empire did is, maybe there was 1 or 2% of the people were the exiles, right? The really serious people, like how the Seventh-day Adventists were very serious and were very serious about the projected return of Jesus, right? This very, very serious. And they were off Mandalore, and then the Empire nuked Mandalore, where most of the people were. So what they've done is they've distilled the religion of Mandalore down into these fanatics, because that's all that's left, because they removed the pure, corporate part, right? Like, and I mean that, like, if this would be like if someone removed all the Roman Catholics, right? Like, just to pick a mainline sort of established Christian sect that I'm familiar with. Those guys. And if you remove them,
left were Protestants.
And then if you took all the Protestants that, for instance, would drink alcohol, just like more secular, right? And you took them out too, and you left everybody else, and then you said, well, what's Christianity? And the view that you would get of it would be very different after those changes, right? And I think it's interesting that that's what we're seeing. The Death Watch is there, and guess what? They were right, because something terrible did happen in Mandalore, and it was probably because they weren't armed to the teeth and ready to they actually can point at the results and be like, hey guys, get a load of this. What we kept saying was going to happen is what happened. That's wild. It's a convincing argument, in my opinion.
Yeah,
anyway,
I mean,
sorry guys.
No, it's perfect, and I mean that's a good segue into, we'll talk a little bit about what was a great episode, as DP even said, of Bad Batch, right? I mean, we've been asking for him for weeks, right? It's been weeks, and
they delivered.
wow, I mean, first off, his armor is like the best. Right? It looks so cool, like his weapon, like his gun. I mean, he looks like he would be like the legendary hero in a game. Like Crosshair is like the bad. It makes Hunter look almost like soft, right? He just is like he's that guy. He really is. His mannerisms, his distinct voice, right? As a clone. I enjoyed it.
Thing about this episode, Stormtrooper armor, and they were hiding it from them, and the idea that the Empire that he was pretty kind of devoted to, and why he left the batch, turned on him, and so this is like, I was right. I feel like I'm right for one.
You were right, Ken. I
feel like this is Crosshair coming back, and I don't know when. It might be episode. What are we on?
12.
19? No, 12, 13. It might be episode 15. They're going to get back together because now he's completely disenfranchised. He's Ronin. He's not with any house. And, that whole ending scene where he's on the table and they're rehabilitating him. They're going to give it one last shot and then he's out, but this episode of Bad Batch was probably my favorite. I mean, I did like The Mandalorian, but I think I could watch this episode of Bad Batch again and again and again.
Yeah, the episode was beautifully shot. I mean, animation was just like top notch. The darkness, the winter, the breeziness and everything. It had a symbolism with like the vulture, ice vulture or whatever, going back and forth. I love that. Crosshair, we've been waiting, and Ken was right. We've been waiting, and this episode crystallized as soon as he saw the fact that the stuff that they were guarding was their replacement armor, the replacement stuff.
Yeah,
it just was like, I mean, it's almost like Crosshair just got into his mind anything like this could happen. Like all the signs were there, if you were looking for it,
Right.
But Crosshair is a soldier. He's a soldier, and he does what he's told and everything. He's mission. It just makes you realize like our soldiers and everything who often fight and stuff, and you know, they sacrifice for their country. They sacrifice, they do a lot, but some of these missions, may not be in their best interest and stuff, but they still fight because, they believe it's in the best interest, for their country and stuff. When in the meantime, this episode is showing like the Empire, the Emperor, he already passed that bill and everything to wipe the old, clone troopers out so he could get his new stormtroopers in. And also and leaving the leaving the clone troopers to just, put them on like death defying missions and stuff, until they die or, something happens to them. Like it said so much at that end where you had the stormtroopers looking at the old clone troopers, the commander and Crosshair. That was the old looking at that was the new looking at the old and how beat up and how raggedy they were. And we had that lieutenant saying that I don't like things broken or whatever. I don't like playing broken stuff or whatever.
Right.
So that was the new looking at the old saying we don't need you anymore. And Crosshair got tired of him. I was so happy. I was just like, wow, okay, is he about to kill him? Yes, he did. Crosshair, he finally showed some sort of empathy and, some sort of emotion about his situation instead of non-caring and everything, and I think his relationship with that commander was just mwah.
It was solid. And I was so happy that he picked him up. He picked him up out of the snow, put his helmet on, found his helmet. I don't know if it was nearby or whether he searched it out, but he found his helmet. And in that conversation they had maybe 10 minutes before about, I'm not on you, I'll be glad if I'm not on your your watch when I die.
Right.
He said, and that echoed in his head. I think Crosshair heard that and said, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy die because he saved my life. He put his life on the line for me. So now I'm going to return the favor. And that's how these guys are. That's how these true heroes are. If you sacrifice for me, when it becomes my turn, I'm going to do you one solid.
And he didn't come across like pretentious either. He real relatable to like, Crosshair and everything, not trying to be, judgmental or whatever. He was just reflecting on the fact that they're doing all this stuff for the Empire and the Empire doesn't seem like they're doing a whole lot for them.
Right. Like his relationship was with Hunter before he left.
Yeah.
I mean, they had that bond, they bickered a little bit, but in the end, they understood each other. So I think in this guy, this command, I guess, Mayday, which was a nice American Graffiti reference, or not, Animal House. I'm sorry. Mayday was the guy that rode the motorcycle down the stairs. If you guys saw Animal House, I don't know.
That was Daniel Simpson Day, D-Day.
D-Day, Mayday.
Point average 0.0.
0.0. A great call name for this guy because he was like the absolute end of it, and he was going to solve the problem. He was the only one left. His entire platoon was killed. He was the last one left, and he held that all on his back. He had all that guilt, and here comes Crosshair, and he redeems him. Unfortunately, Mayday expires, but Crosshair brings all that energy with him to this new, whatever's going to happen now. I mean, super great cutscene, right? Like, what are we going to see next week?
Yeah. Our Crosshair is in a bit of a bind. We need our heroes to come and rescue him.
Yes. The batch is going to come and
get the band back together, huh, Ken?
Man, and I think this is going to be a great. I mean, I know you guys think it's crazy, and he doesn't deserve it, and maybe the signs weren't there, but I feel that this is what this story needs. because it's been soft, and I get it. It's been a little soft when everyone wasn't together. The Bad Batch was a thing. Order 99 was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
These were the guys that survived, and I think they need to be together, and they need to be causing some trouble for the Empire.
Well, it's something, and I don't know how much they're going to do with Crosshair, with his thoughts on like the replacement and everything, and the Empire changing from the clones to like the stormtroopers, but it's just something that when they do get back together and they see everything that's going on, I mean, not only are they surviving, they're seeing all their brothers just get just so disrespected, so disrespected by the Empire. I mean, if it wasn't a fact that we know how this is like pretty much where this is just headed, this story here in itself, we would also sort of like want to root for the Batch to overthrow the Empire or something like that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's a small little story within like the larger Star Wars story that gives like, you rooting for our guys, and Crosshair. He's the boy.
And what are they going to do? Go against the Imperial? What do they call it? The Imperial Investigation Bureau, HR? What are they going to do?
Well, there's many parallels for these mutinies of veterans. In the United States, there was one in the 30s, a bonus army. Maybe you've heard of it. They marched on Washington, D.C. to get early payments of their enlistment bonuses from World War I. And they were mercilessly oppressed by, among others, Douglas MacArthur, who sort of led the breaking up of that strike. So, if you push these guys, they eventually will break. And when they break, it's going to be,
bad.
Them versus the stormtroopers. And Lord knows why this armor is so secret. It seems like they're losing lives and lives over stormtrooper armor. Right, they put millions and millions and millions of people in these things, and they're like 3 to a crate, and you can't lose a single crate. Why not just move it off planet and just stick it somewhere out in space where nobody is?
Like the outpost.
Yeah, like that same very outpost, like where you already have. Like,
why would you? It's Christmas all year round.
Like, do you guys like? Orbital Mechanics says that the amount of fuel that they would waste taking something like a provision and moving it into a gravity well to bring it out of a gravity well is so like it's astronomical. It makes it like prohibitively expensive. So it doesn't make a lot of sense logistically either.
You're talking crazy, Steel City. That's crazy talk.
I keep forgetting you have your own Star Wars theory of gravity and time.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's just, whatever you want to happen will happen. And it moves without expending energy. And there's no time, and weeks are not weeks. They're actually maybe minutes. It just doesn't matter.
I mean, you can't argue with that logic.
No.
And the one thing that lieutenant that commander said to the lieutenant was that have you ever been into like a battle? How many battles have you led and everything? It was so the lieutenant was just laying it on super thick throughout the whole episode. Yep. I mean, it just made you just want to hate him and everything. But they have cowards leading that never went into battle, commanding and just forcing their will on these soldiers and stuff, and they're not commanding any type of respect and everything. So sort of know where it was going to end up with him, at the end there.
Yeah, that Lieutenant Nolan was a total waste. And that's what the Empire, that's why it failed, because it had power, it had money, but it didn't have skill. At its ranks, it didn't have anyone that could really command. It commanded with fear.
In a way. They weren't led by like bona fide soldiers. I mean, except for like Darth Vader,
Tarkin,
the
Emperor.
Well, Emperor's an asshole. So.
A very competent one.
Very competent asshole.
The Emperor is the reason for this whole story. He's like, why we're here, dude.
Yeah, hey, he's. I guess he's doing his thing there, Ken.
He's doing.
Is the Emperor known as Chekhov's asshole?
Chekhov's asshole.
He's gonna show up sometime.
He
make a big enough ruckus.
We've said it.
He already has.
Yeah, but they're led by like cowards and stuff,
Yes.
partly to a degree.
Peacetime soldiers, man.
Exactly.
Anytime stuff actually pops off, there's a lot of people that are in positions of authority that end up getting replaced pretty quick just because they don't have. It's like a different skill set, and it's hard. In everybody's defense, it's hard to know until it pops off if you have what it takes to deal with it. From what I hear, this is not me saying this, by the way. Yeah, I definitely am not on that list. To be very clear, I'm not claiming to be.
It's like a human,
yeah,
just a human instinct interaction or whatever, That's this.
But they call this type of person, it's a term, a martinet. Someone that demands all these, strict things and perfection. It has like, a really inflated ego and wants you to do everything a certain way. And those particular types of officers have this weird thing that keeps happening to them where they get shot in the back by their troops. And if you're in combat, and combat's a pretty dangerous place, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you know that. It's dangerous out there in combat. And if you start doing a bunch of crazy dumb crap that's going to get your men killed, a lot of times
they're
bad things happen to you.
They're not going to cover for you.
Well, not just that, but they'll just take care of you to make sure to get the replacement that knows what they're doing. So, and again, there's not a new thing, not something that's unique to any specific conflict.
But the cowards are easy to command. They're easy to direct because they're willing to. I guess it's a little person's theory or whatever, small dick energy as they call it or whatever.
What?
We won't call that a checkoff.
Casuals need to step it up. You have these.
So wait. You're saying like the guy just standing there watching, he's a casualty, but and his whole family was killed from like shrapnel from an explosion, and he was supposed to step up. What chance did he have?
Hey,
say that to everybody.
DP,
say that to everybody on Sokovia.
Oh yeah, wait. Hey, well, I mean, it's the sacrifices in times of war and everything.
We like our omelets, boys, don't we? We don't want to break any eggs. Like Sokovia was an egg.
But yeah, I mean, you got them being led by like cowards and stuff, and eventually the soldiers they catch on to that and everything, and at some point, what do? They start questioning stuff,
almost as if you created an army and selected for advancement based purely on loyalty and your ability to obey, you would end up with a bunch of people in positions of power that would use their authority very capriciously and stupidly. And it would really impact the efficiency of your armed forces. Maybe making it believable that a group of ragtag teddy bears could defeat your finest legions in combat.
Endor.
Right. Well, I mean, all roads lead to one person, which changes the battle, right? Which will be Thrawn, and that's what makes him so unique, right? And the Chiss, because they have this battle meditation, this almost force-like ability to be able to foresee things and to be able to be ultra intelligent, ultra advanced. Both of these shows lead to him being such a strong character and very vital for the Emperor, right?
And that's what I think they should get rid of the post prequel and do Last Command, right? Because that's Thrawn's story, isn't it?
I mean, they don't have to get rid of it. Like I said, it's okay.
Well, don't get rid of it. Everyone loves Kylo Ren. He's so cool.
I believe if we go back in history, your ratings were a lot higher than the rest of ours. I believe.
Ooh, that is correct. I know that's correct.
Finally turning to the dark side, ladies and gentlemen. We had it on film. Is this Ken's first time? Because that's the first chink in the armor, Ken, I've heard of you say anything bad about Star Wars. Is this where we're headed with you?
I just think that if we're going to talk about Thrawn,
it's your
doing it right. Answer. We gotta do the Last Command. Yeah. Okay. Put closed captioning on. Hey, Grandma, put closed captioning on so I understand what's going on with this Star Wars story.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk Thrawn, you have to start with Last Command.
And give me a Thrawn origin story or whatever, and then have all our heroes, go up against them. I mean, don't do like a Infinity War Endgame type of thing or whatever. Just give me strictly Thrawn movie, something.
That actual story would be really interesting to see. It would be a really great, a really great. So I bet that could be a great episode of Mandalorian or whatever.
I think we're headed there.
We saw the whales. The whales. Yeah. I mean, you show me a whale. That's Chekhov's whale right there. Right. You show me that whale. I want to see that whale go off and shoot up Thrawn and Ezra.
Well, and yeah, I mean that's where I think that's where this leads. And when you see the Ahsoka series, it may not be an Infinity War that's a movie, but we've seen Disney's latest thing is a special presentation. So why not the final boss, the Thrawn fight be a Star Wars special presentation, and we bring these worlds together and collide, right? I mean, what better way to do it? I mean, yeah, we want to see it on the main screen, but this is Disney. I mean, this is Disney Plus's baby. I don't think they would take the story on the larger screen because this is what's driving the story. They're going to do a special presentation, maybe a 2-hour. It'll basically be a movie, right? It'll be exclusively for Disney Plus. But I think that will be like as we say, the kind of the crossover event. Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Boba, Bad Batch all roads culminate to a big battle against Thrawn. So, yeah, I think you guys all have valid points.
We're talking post Return of the Jedi. Right?
Oh, it will be, yeah, because that's where the timeline will head to.
Okay. So I'm not saying get rid of that, Force Awakens completely, but fill in the gap a little bit better. Connect the two trilogies a little bit. And I think if they did something with Thrawn, I think they could maybe because I love that you sent us the script like a year ago.
Oh yeah.
What the redo was.
Oh yeah.
And it made more sense.
Yeah, that's what it was supposed to be, but yeah, they fired him and
they fired him, but I mean the story itself made more sense if they filled in this gap a little bit.
Right, but as we say, I think Disney follows suit, and especially with Marvel and even with these series, it's leading for a time heist. I think we won't see a redo or a reboot. It'll just be the world between worlds, right? And some event will affect the future and maybe the past, and I think that's how we'll get not really a reboot, but something different, right? Because they can go in a portal
anyway, one way or the other.
Right, they'll go in a different portal, they'll change an event, and I think that will lead to a new future, which will be very cool. And as we've seen with, as DP says, with Endgame and a lot of these different time heists, I think Disney's perfected it. I mean, we'll see what DC does in the summer with their time heists and how they handle rebooting things through time, but with these movies, these series, and that really the hot topic of really this kind of nerd realm of doing time heists and rebooting thing through time, I think as we've seen with Star Wars, they have the best grasp of taking a concept like this and making a great output at the end of it. So I'm excited.
Business wise, it makes the most sense because you don't have to be beholden to like a particular story over time. Right. And you can just tell different type of stories in universes or time periods or whatever.
And we're getting enough now that there's plenty to go around.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to spend some time in the first couple centuries of the Jedi actually emerging as a galactic force, great. You want to do the High Republic, great. You want to show me this alternate universe where the sequels didn't happen, great. If you want to show me what happens in the sequels universe after the sequels happen, great. There's a lot of things you can do. I think what's important is just to remember that, time is really just space. So if you're just going to, you can just say we're doing it different this time, and it's completely valid and totally fine. And I think everyone seems fine.
And time doesn't matter. Like minutes, seconds, years, centuries, it doesn't matter. It's all happening at the same time.
There are some pretty advanced scientific theories that ask the question: is the past real? Is the future real? Is the present real? And there's really no evidence that the future or the past are real.
Are we in a simulation?
You are now.
The Matrix asked that question.
That's another good question. They've been exploring that because they haven't been able to find the lower limit of where, like, Like they haven't found like the refresh rate anywhere. They can't find it anywhere.
You know what? I
Doesn't exist.
read a document that was on like one of these scientific magazines where they found a molecule, not even a molecule, like an atom, like the smallest thing that we have, and they were able to take it and move it back and forth through time, and it did not change. And we're talking like the smallest little thing, but they are able to manipulate it to the point where they can move it forward or back or bring it current, and it did not change. Something like that. I didn't understand, but this is real. This is happening now. So
we have taken far too few physics classes to have this discussion on this Star Wars show.
I'm just saying, some of the things we're talking about in Star Wars could actually be happening now. And, you know,
well, technically speaking of it, in a galaxy far, far away, which, as we know, due to relativity, means the information is reaching us now.
Yes.
So the present is also the past, but in a galaxy far, far away, the past was the present.
Yeah, and what does that mean? It's just not
ultimately
where
nothing.
we are now. It's on a different timeline.
Anyway, sorry guys. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we digress.
For listenership.
No, it's happening. The viewers have all left. Everybody's gone. Everybody's checked
wrap
out.
it up.
Everybody's checked out. So yeah, we'll make it a swift wrap up. But yeah, guys, I guess we wrap up and lead into next week. And one of the final, you know, because we have 3, 13, 14, so what, 4 more of the combos. So, you know, we'll go into this back half of Bad Batch, which, as we see, it's picked up and it's caught legs. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they keep the momentum for these last couple episodes. And obviously, you know, Mandalorian is one of those shows that need no introduction. So until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.